The Age of Revolutions, 1838 to 1848. In many regions of Europe, such as Italian and German states, the provinces of Ottoman Empire, Ireland and Poland, the conservatives try to control or consolidate their power, show their power, but the liberalists and the nationalists were coming up very strongly, and they were associated with many revolutions in these regions. As I said, these revolutions were led by liberal nationalists, and these liberal nationalists were all belonged to middle class elites who were professors, school teachers, clerks, and members of commercial middle classes. The first upheaval that took place in France was in July 1830. During this time, the Bourbon kings, who had been restored to power by the conservatives, were thrown down by the liberal nationalists. Okay, and after throwing this Bourbon dynasty, they installed, or they brought back, the constitutional monarchy, in which Louis Philippe was given the charge. Okay, he became the head. This revolution, okay, which was also known as the July Revolution, gave more spark to other regions of the Europe, such as Brussels, then United Kingdoms of Netherlands. They all started following up the same step, that is to throw out the conservative rules and bring the revolutionaries or the liberal nationalists. So looking at this, the conservative, one of the conservative, he comment, that is Metternich comment, that when France sneezes, the rest of Europe catches cold. Now, what does it mean? In a simple way, it is trying to saying that whenever France, or whatever France does or plans to do, or has taken some steps, the other European countries will always follow. That is what he meant by the comment, saying that when France sneezes, the rest of Europe catches cold. And then an event that mobilizes nationalist feeling about or among the educated elite across Europe was the Greek War of Independence. All these people who were educated, who were rich, they all got inspired because of Greek War of Independence. Now remember one thing, during this Ottoman Empire, Greece was a part of it. Okay, under Ottoman Empire, Greece was a part of it. Now, during this, the growth of revolutionary nationalism in Europe, it was coming up. Okay, the spark was there, the fire for nationalism was coming up. People wanted to fight more, and when Greece started to fight for the independence, there were some Greeks, okay, the citizens of Greece who were not allowed to live in Greece were sent out. Okay, they were in exile. When they came to know that in Greece the Greek War of Independence started, those people who were out of their country, they started to support their the war, or the Greece War, or the Greek War of Independence. Then in 1821, they started, means Greece, which began in 1821, the independence or the fight started. Now, as you can see the line, nationalists in Greece, they all got support from the Greeks, okay, living in exile. Exile means those who are sent out from their country and are living in other countries. So they all got support. Now, when many East or West Europeans also had the sympathies for ancient Greek culture, looking at their culture, many people, they said these Greeks people are doing great. Some poets, some lyrics or lyricists, then some writers, they all mobilize people. Okay, and after mobilizing, they tried to mobilize some kind of fund, and all this fund was given for or created for the War of Independence, the Greece War of Independence, or the Greek War of Independence. One of the English poets, Lord Byron, he also organized lots of fund, and then after collecting this fund, he also joined the war. But unfortunately, Lord Byron died because of fever in 1824. At last, okay, in 1832, because of all these types of revolution and all, the treaty was signed, and the name of the treaty was known as Treaty of Constantinople. It was signed, under which they recognized Greece as an independent nation. Thus, uh, the Greece got independence. Clear? Now let us move on to the next part, 3.1, the romantic imagination and the national feeling. Now, the first question that comes here is Romanticism. What is that? Romanticism means what? Cultural movements, okay, develop as a sense of nationalism through art, poetry, stories, music, or past experiences. Under this, many people try to bring out nationalism not by killing, shedding blood, or fighting, but here they try to mobilize people or bring nationalism out through art, poetry, stories, music, and past. Now, I'll just come to India. Now, in the present day, there are some songs which are very common or which we really like it. Now, nationalism, the patriotic songs and all. Some songs, just after listening to it, how do you feel? You feel like, yes, I have to do something for my country. So this is that doing something for a country is known as nationalism. So under this, we are going to study that culture. Okay, culture always had played an important role in creating the idea of a nation. Okay, now let's see. Romanticism, what do they do? So here, according to the book, as you will come across, they will try to bring out, okay, most of the things. They said instead on emotion, means we are not focusing on fighting or this and that, but we are focusing on emotions, okay, intuitions and mystical feelings. We are not trying to bring out some kind of nationalism just by creating a kind of hatred or any kind of feelings for different people, but here they trying to bring nationalism by creating or by touching the emotions, by touching the intuitions, by touching the feelings. Their efforts was to create a share of collective heritage. Okay, when you talk about collective heritage, means the heritage which comes out because of you, because of me. India, I'll give you the example of India because we haven't seen how Greece is. Okay, but we'll just take you to India. Now, in India, what happens is when you say Indians, it is not that India is for only one type of people. There are so many cultures that is found together and they proudly represent India. Okay, and this is a mystical feeling, or this is a collective heritage. We all bear something. Okay, so a common cultural past and the basis of nation. So one of the German philosopher Johann Gottfried Herder, what did he do, or what did he say is that if someone or somebody wants to know about Germany, you don't need to go and study books. You just come and ask questions to common people about German, okay, and you will come to know what is culture. So here it is written very nicely that claim that true German culture was to be discovered among common people. By studying you may not get to know, but come and stay with the common people, you will come to know what is Germany, okay, or German society. Thus folk. It is true that it is through the songs, poetries, folk dances that the true spirit of any country can be seen. So that is what Johann Gottfried said. Okay, so collecting and recording these forms of cultural songs and cultural or the folk songs, folk dances, it became a very important project for nation building. Okay, now moving on with the same part. This part emphasizes that we should emphasize means give pressure or give more importance to what vernacular language. When you say vernacular languages means local languages, okay, and this local languages was very important to create a kind of nationalism. Okay, so here, and the collection of local folklore was not just to recover ancient national spirit, but also to carry the modern nationalist message to large audiences, mostly illiterate. So you can see it is written in such a way that you will just by reading you can say, okay, this is what they mean. It means what when anything is been written in a local language, or what happens, even the illiterate man, if he listens to it, okay, now he cannot read, but if someone is reading it, okay, if someone reads it out and he just hears it, he become alert, or he is really carried away with that words. That is what he said, let us emphasize most on the local language. Then one case was taken from Poland and Russia. Okay, so now this was specially in the case of Poland, they said. It has been said that during the 18th century, the great powers, that is Russia, Prussia, and Austria, they were they divided, and they had different types of a way of ruling. So in one such case, even though Poland no longer existed as an independent territory, nationalist feelings was kept through music. Okay, so Polish. Okay, now though it was divided, they said. Then also, people of Poland, they try to keep themselves as one by the language. Okay, they have one common language, or the music. Karol Kurpinski celebrated the national struggle through his operas and music. Now he says that, or the book says that one of the Polish opera singer, whenever he tried to enjoy, or whenever he tried to bring out nationalism, he sings opera, and he sings in Polish language. And when he sings it in a Polish language and Polish music, all the people of Poland, they are connected to each other, and this was how nationalist feeling comes out. So as we just said, vernacular language. So is it true that language play an important role in developing nationalist sentiments? If the question is asked, you can say yes. Okay, and answer comes from this part. How? When Russian corporation won over Polish, okay, when they started controlling Polish, the Russian people or the Russian government, what did they do? They forced Polish people not to speak Polish, but instead they have to speak Russian. In their schools, colleges, meetings, gatherings, wherever possible, Russians, they try to force the people of Poland that they have to speak Russians. Whereas the Polish people, they were unhappy with this step. So what did they do instead? Wherever they meet, suppose if there is any social gathering, church or a market, they started communicating, they started giving lots of orders or lots of ideas or lots of planning was made in a local language, that is in Polish. When the Russian authorities, they came to know that the bishops or the preacher or the priest, they did not teach or preach in Russian language, these bishops and the priests were arrested and they were taken to Siberia, where the authorities punished them for not preaching in Russian languages. So this was how the people of Polish, they tried to fight against the strong people, that or the strong fighters, that is Russia, but they did not use any other source, but instead they use Polish language, okay, their own language. I hope it's clear. Now let's move on to hunger, hardship, and popular revolt. With the name itself, or with the topic itself, I think it's very clear that here we are going to talk about hunger, hardship, and popular revolt. Now in 1830, suddenly the economy of Europe was greatly hit. The reason was very simple. It was none other than the population. Suddenly the population of Europe, it was increased. Okay, it was increased, and because of this increase in population, there was unemployment. The rise of unemployment was high. It doesn't mean that there are no jobs. If before the half of 19th century, if there are 100 jobs, now also 100 jobs were there, but those who were seeking for jobs suddenly became more. It was because of rise in population. Then in most of the areas, population from villages, they start moving out to the cities, and the people of villages, they move out to the cities because in villages they have no source of income left. So they were just thinking that if they go to the towns and towns, they'll get some jobs. But unfortunately, towns are also overcrowded. In a simple example, I'll give you Delhi. Okay, now people from all over India, they move to Delhi. All over India, when I say, now every state has got several villages. Even if you take 10 people from all villages, there are more than lakhs and lakhs of people who tries to try their luck in Delhi so that they can get some jobs. In that way, they come and gather in Delhi. They stay in a very overcrowded areas or slums. So this was a case that we are talking about in Europe also. During the 19th century, people started moving from rural areas towards the towns, making the towns very overcrowded. Now, after this, another group of people who were facing lots of problem were the small producers. And the small producers, they have machines, but these machines are manually run, means their machines are not fully mechanized. Okay, and they made products, whereas in the same market we get products which are made in England, but these products which are made in England are totally mechanized or made in machines, and thus the cost is also very less. So the products which are made in England were cheaper than the products which are made in the local areas. Thus the small producer has to face a stiff competition with this type of products, and at last what happens, they have no income. In some other regions of Europe, there were aristocracy, means there were some people who were still ruling, aristocrats, and these aristocrats, they have a different ideology. They had given some money to the farmers, and the farmers are cultivating. Okay, with the help of the money, they bought some seeds or fodder and all, and they went for cultivation. Unfortunately, once again, the crops failed. When the crops fail, the aristocrats demands the farmers, saying that they have to return the money by any means. But how can a farmer return the money if the crop failed? When the crop failed, they have no other sources. Thus, these people, they also try to enjoy lots and lots of power by giving peasants a huge sum of trouble there. Okay, and they have to pay this feudal dues to the aristocrats, and this was also very difficult part. And during this time, because crop failed, there was a rise in prices of food products. Okay, and it was very bad all around Europe, means there was no food. If food is there, the cost of food was more. What is the cost of what is the reason for the rise in price of the food or food products? Because the crops fail. Okay, and when the crops fail, poor people could not buy, and there was a huge spread of pauperism. You can see pauperism means poverty in here in Europe. Okay, so Lewis, now in 1848, as we are talking about this bad harvest and all, in 1848 it was one such year where food shortage was hit, and there was a widespread of unemployment throughout the Paris. So the people of Paris, they came to Rhodes. When the people of Paris, when they came to Rhodes, there was one leader, Louis Philippe. Okay, he was being brought to power by the nationalists and the liberalists, so that they can help people. But Louis Philippe was unable to help people, so He was afraid that these people may charge him, and so he ran out from his house. That means he was forced to flee and take refuge in some other areas. During this time, National Assembly proclaimed power, and they said, our leader is gone. From today onwards, or from now onwards, we, National Assembly means representative elected by people, okay, they were given the chance to run the country. And as soon as they came to power, they said, you all are given suffrage, means what is that, casting vote, the right to cast vote was given. And they also guaranteed that people above 21 years age will cast vote, okay. They also guaranteed that you all will get job, right to work. So national workshop was provided and employment were to set up. So this was one case in 1832, okay, sorry, 1848. This was during the war. Now we are talking about just before this, okay, earlier, means 1848 it was in Paris, right? Now 1845, just before 1848 cases, one area was there which was totally for weavers, that is Silesia, okay. It was a village where only cotton weaving population was living. Okay, here what happened is that the contractors, they used to give some money to the weavers, saying that the raw materials were provided, and the orders were also given to them, saying that you have to finish this product within stipulated time, and they will pay you, or the contractors will pay to the weavers some amount of money. But once the product was finished, the contractors never pay them the said amount. Instead, they try to reduce them amount. If the amount was to be paid by the contractor was 100 rupees, they will try to bargain, and they will bring it down to 40 to 45 rupees. It is an example, so you don't need to mention the amount. So this the misery of the workers was coming up very, means it was very extreme. So this desperate people, they were in need of jobs, and this people, because they need jobs, some people have taken advantage of these weavers. So it was one such case of 1845 June, okay, 4th June. A large crowd of weavers emerge out of their houses and march in pairs, okay, to the mansion where the contractors were living, and they demanded that their wage should be raised up, means they have to increase their wages. They were treated with scorn and threats alternately, means they were when they demand something, the contractor, they will try to give them some kind of threatening and all, and then their ideas or their things or their demands will be never welcome. So following this, some people, they say that no, we cannot accept anything that is said by the contractor. So they force inside the houses, smashed all the beautiful and the expensive things which were kept in the houses,